out on that field today, ask yourself this question.
What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We ready! We ready! We ready! We ready! And let's go to the house! And let's go to the house!
When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
Football is getting hit. That's it.
It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house.
We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how like we the Miami Heat of football. Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up your chin strap.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from them.
He's a man. They can be hit just like us. He's a man.
You already make the big money.
He's a man.
Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's war out there.
When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like.
Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world.
What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
Yes, sir. We here today with the HBCU Stroll with myself, the coach, Johnnie Cole. Later, I'll have a special guest come on, but I want to pay tribute to the Giant. He's won 11 championships, coached 2 of those. I want to pay tribute to Bill Russell of the Boston Celtics, and I should say the late Bill Russell, who passed away yesterday. It goes without saying, me being into the sporting world, we got to pay tribute to a Giant that was a trendsetter, played for the Boston Celtics. You know, you can't say enough about what he stood for, advocate on blackness and black awareness or the unfairness. He never shied away from it. Great leader. After winning 9 championships, became the player coach, and won 2 more. Was the first black coach in the NBA. You know, I can't say enough about Bill Russell. But today is a great day. Hear about Deshaun Watson is getting a 6-game suspension. Which everybody is talking about today after being found not guilty on 2 indictments. I don't favor one way or the other. This is America, and that's why we have the American system. But the NFL maybe or maybe not try to suspend him more games. Hopefully this thing is done and over and that he can move on with his career and any damage that he may have done to the young ladies or to the ladies, that they may recover and move on. That's the thing about life, is when you get knocked down, you gotta move on. Again, I tell you that my special guest is trying to get himself straight for he can get on the show with me. And that would be Stedman Graham. As you guys know, Stedman Graham is a business advisor. He's the chairman and CEO of the Stedman Graham and Association, a management and marketing consultant of a managing marketing firm. He's from Whitesboro, New Jersey. Stedman was also a big-time basketball player at Hardin Simmons here in in Texas. He went on to play professional basketball overseas and in Europe, and was able to start his own business. He have wrote 12 books. 2 are New York bestsellers. One is The Identity of Leadership, which we want to talk about today, and also with the capitalism system here in America. So we want to bring Stedman in. I think we got him on the phone with the producer. Can we bring him in? Hello. Well, we
hear me okay?
Okay. We finally got him in. Stedman.
Yeah. How are you?
Hey, I can hear you. I can hear you a little bit.
Okay.
Hey, how you doing? Hello?
Doing good. How about yourself? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I sure can. How you doing? Everything's okay?
Everything is good. Everything is good. It was a pleasure to meet you in San Diego, and knowing that you're a friend of Rudy and who's a friend of mine, and I'm so glad you're doing well, and you've got a great background in coaching and working with athletes and all of that. So it's a pleasure to speak with you.
Well, first and foremost, man, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out your day to give me an opportunity to tap into your brain and to tap into some of your success. And we and we met when you were holding court at the golf course, and you had said some things, and we, everybody was around and just getting all that energy from you. And that's pretty much how we kind of chime in together. And of course, you said Rudy Johnson, who was my college roommate, who's been a friend of mine for 39 years, that I have the utmost respect for. But I was in Mexico this weekend, Stedman, and I see that they always had 2 prices. They had a Mexican price and a foreign price. And it seems that they like to take care of their people. And I look at this opportunity from you. You could be doing 1,000 things. And I always talk about blackness, awareness, how we should love each other. With you just doing this tells me what type of person and what type of man you are.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I mean, I try to teach love in the work that I do, which is the foundation of everything. I mean, you only have 2 choices in life. It's either love or hate. It's looking at the glass half empty or looking at the glass full. It's either negative or positive. So, whatever you put out, I often say, is what you get back. So if you put out hate, that's exactly what you get back. If you put out anger, that's exactly what you put back and get back. If you put out love, you get that back. If you put out a positive attitude, you get that back. So that's pretty simple.
Right. Well, let's go back, because I want my audience to know, because most of my audience are coaches as well as educators as well. White Boroughs, New Jersey, where you're born. And one of the things that on your 9 steps to identifying leadership is knowing who you are. So when you came there, can you kind of walk me through White Boroughs, New Jersey, and then how you ended up in Harding-Simmons? Because I know you was a hell of a basketball player as well.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I mean, I don't know. I worked in the prison system. Most people don't know that 5 years. But there's no question I would have been a prisoner in that system if not for basketball. And you know how important sports is, because sports really is kind of the only thing that kind of gives us something that we can aspire to. Oftentimes, you're stuck with such a negative perception of yourself, and I had that. Of course, I had low self-esteem and lack of confidence in myself, because I grew up with 2 special need brothers in my family, which had a big effect on my life. And basketball was kind of the only way that got me out of
my small town. Otherwise, you don't have a college education, or you don't really are not prepared. You don't really know who you are. You really don't have a sense of self. And I had a lot of wonderful role models coming up, and I had a lot of we played sports, and my mother and father worked hard, so I had that all going for me. What I didn't have is I didn't have the mindset piece. I had a lot of the anger and rage I grew up with because of race, because of all the things that all of us experienced coming up. And so basketball kind of gave me an outlet, gave me an opportunity to get out and kind of create a life for myself. I joined the Army, United States Army. So I got my master's there when I was in the service. I played ball in Europe. Played ball in college, so it gave me a strong enough base so I wouldn't destroy myself.
Now you got to tell me what position you played. Now I'm a basketball man myself, and being around you, you tall. Was you a early Magic Johnson, or you was a forward or center?
Well, I was a forward. I was a pretty good ball player. If you let me tell it. So I played with Harvey Catchies. Harvey and I played. He played in the pro league. Played for Milwaukee. Got drafted from Milwaukee. Played with Philadelphia. Played with the Clippers. And he played in the NBA about 12 or 13 years. So we were pretty competitive team, and we played a lot of independent. We had an independent schedule. But it was a great experience, basketball. I mean, I got to travel all over Europe and play, and so that was pretty strong. I get to learn a lot culturally. So I had a lot of different kinds of backgrounds, which is really what helped me. Is that I had so many different experiences to pull from, and that gave me enough strength to be able to basically it prepared me for. What I'm doing today, which I've written 12 books, and I get to speak around the world, and I teach people how to find out who they are and how to develop an identity for themselves. And identity leadership is really my signature program.
Yeah. Well, I've read, of course, read up on you and how I guess the way you were raised and coming from those situations in the home. You actually started working in the community of Whitesboro, and it also triggered you to write one of your New York Times bestsellers, Teens That Make It Happen. And the thing too that I love about your books is you don't only just write a book and leave it out there. You have a program actually that people can follow. That I think is wonderful. And matter of fact, I've started mine as well because you told me back in San Diego, I need to get every book I can and read about this media thing. And so I want to thank you for that. But you started in the community there and working with youths, and things kind of took off, huh?
Yeah, I the big thing about my community is that where I came from, Whitesboro, New Jersey, is that people gave back to us. There were so many folks, Mrs. Edmonds, who was our principal there. I grew up in a segregated school there. So we went to all black school, which is great, lived in all black towns surrounded by White County, and pretty much we had our own. And so they worked really hard with us. All of the students I went to school with, they were smart. I mean, they prepared us because we went, we had a segregated school up to about 8th grade. And they actually segregated it at about, I think, 5th or 6th grade when I was coming up. But it was, most of the students there who grew up in that town, after the 8th grade, they went to a white school. And so that was such a privilege to be able to have your own teachers, and and they were smart. I mean, everybody was smart, and so they prepared us, and so giving back to me is part of what I have to do to be able to, and giving back to young people is part of what I have to be able to in order to thank them for the work that they did for me and so many of us who are able to excel out of this small town.
Yeah. Before we move on, of course, you've heard the news about Bill Russell, and have you guys ever crossed paths? You know, I've always looked at people as top leaders. So
I'm sorry to hear that. I knew Bill. Bill and I, you know, when we saw each other, we would always, you know, spend some time talking. So I spent a little time with him. I also spent a little time with his daughter, knowing her and all of her, and just basically, Bill and her were, you know, when they were together, it was always great to be able to spend time with both of them. Not a lot of time, but you know, he's a special guy, you know, and extraordinary human being, and you know, he was making it happen long before it was popular. I'm sure he caught a lot of feedback and negative feedback from other people, and it was tough during that time. So I applaud him and all of those ball players that I know that one meeting that they called to get around Muhammad Ali, you know, was significant, you know, to try to support him. And that wasn't an easy thing to do because all of these guys were star players.
Right. Well, you know, that's a famous picture with him. At that time, it was Lou Alcindor, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Muhammad Ali, as well as Jim Brown. That was a significant day for blacks at that time. You know, one thing you say about identifying leadership, you know, and had got me to thinking. And then, you know, you says there's 9 steps. When you put the 9 steps there, did you put them there in sequence of the order that they're supposed to go?
Yeah, they're in sequence. So the first step is check your ID. You have to have an identity. You have to know who you are. I mean, really, you have to be able to customize some kind of a program for yourself. You got 3 systems. You got a fail system, which is folks that are not really going anywhere. You got a second system where most people, they wake up in the morning, they wash their face, they brush their teeth, they get something to eat, they get the kids off to school, they, you know, work all day, and they're really, you know, if you did the same thing you did yesterday as you would do today, as you would do tomorrow, what have you done? Pretty much nothing. You know, we go to school, get a degree, come out, we just work and work and work. That's the average system. You know, you're going to get 3 squares a day. You're not going to probably miss any meals, but you're probably 2 or 3 paychecks from homeless. You know, so you're just working. The system I'm talking about, knowing who you are, is a system where you start to build everything around yourself, where you start to work on you, working on yourself, loving yourself, caring about what you do. You understand what your talents are, you understand what your skills are, and you really kind of focus your whole life around figuring out what you love in your life, what's your passion, what's your purpose in life, what's meaningful for you. And that has to be the core for building and organizing information. And what I'm talking about is being able to apply information. What I learned in my life, which I call learning how to learn, is I learned how to organize information around me based on what I love and based on what I should be doing in my life. And so that's why when you're in the media like you are, you want to know as much about the media as you possibly can learn. And you make everything relevant to growing every single day. The thing that I learned is that everybody is equal because everybody has 24 hours. So the question is what you're doing with your time. Order and organization is the highest level of development. So that's the first step. You got to have that step. It's so important to have that step. Write down everything you love, organize all the information around that, and continue to grow every day based on what you love and what you care about. That's number one. The second step is you got to have a vision. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. You got to have a vision for you got yourself. You got to see beyond your circumstances. Poverty is looking behind you. Success is looking forward. The third step is you got to have a plan. You got to organize, okay, your plan. You got to write it down on a piece of paper. You know, you got 50,000 thoughts a day. You can't possibly remember everything. So you got to be a planner. You got to have a plan for where you're going. Otherwise, you'll go anywhere. The fourth step is master the rules of the road. This is a very important step, especially now, more so than any other time, I think, in the history of our country. You got to have a strong value system so you can stay consistent and sustain yourself over a long period of time. You got to be a hard worker. You know, easy to work hard and really is not work if you can find something that you love to do. You got to, you know, determination, perseverance. You got to create a value system around your vision based on who you want to become. The fifth step is step into the outer limits, overcoming your fears. What are your barriers to success? What holds you back? What keeps you from moving forward? The sixth step is pilot the seasons to change. We're going through so many changes right now. Climate changes we're going through. Pandemic, of course, we're going through. Economic changes we're going through. Recession we're going through. And what is your ability to sustain yourself over these tough times? You know, how strong are you? The law of the jungle says only the strong survive. The seventh step is build your dream team. Got to have a team. No one makes it alone. And no man or woman is an island unto themselves. You cannot make it without a team. And your team is always predicated on how strong or weak you are as a person. Because a strong person attracts a strong team, and a weak person also attracts a weak team. So you need a team. So your team is very important based on trying to align yourself with people that are going in the same direction. Step 8 is win by decision, which is really one of my favorite steps. It teaches you how to organize information around yourself. You know, it's all about content. The good book says, be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind. So it's all about your thinking. And so our ability to be able to take information, education, make it relevant to our heart, to our soul, to our passion, to what we love, transfer it to our mind so we become a thinking human being, and then transfer that to the American free enterprise system or the global marketplace. You couldn't have a better time to do this than today because we have technology. You know, this is the information age. So to be able to apply all of this information we have to our growth and development, to developing a process of continuous improvement every single day, so we're better today than we were yesterday, is more possible today than now than ever before. It's almost like we can create our own university through this iPhone and through this technology. The last step is commit to your vision. And it's based on all the things I talked about. And once if you're not focused on vision, a circumstance is bigger than yourself. I could care less about who you are. I'm talking about, where you are right now, what your situation is now. I'm talking about who you can become, and who can you become in the greatest country in the world, which is America, to be able to have all of these resources. And now we have technology as a way to drive our passion and our purpose and our vision and our plan. So your last step is creating a lifestyle around all the things I talked about. So every day you're improving and you're growing and you're developing, and you're building and you're driving it. And nobody can stop you because, again, you know who you are and you know where you're going and you know how you're going to get there.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of reading all that, and of course, putting it all together, and where you are in your life, and that it's a great guide. It's a great book. Now, writing your teen book, when you wrote your book about to teens, and it was a minute ago, but how does that fit? The book you wrote then fit with the teenagers now, with all this social media and all this exposure?
Well, the beautiful thing about social media is that if you take the information that you have access to and you apply it to what you love, if you apply it to what you're good at, apply it to your work, apply it to your health, apply it to your school, apply it to your economic development, apply it to your family, apply it to your hobbies. It becomes more relevant to your development. If you're just using it, it's actually using you if you don't make it work for who you are as a person. That's why it's so important to have an identity, so you can identify with those things that are relevant to your development. Because if you're just walking around having it entertain yourself, you're kind of wasting your time. Just sending folks emails and you're not going anywhere. You're not applying that information to what's going to help you grow socially and economically. I know we kind of talked about capitalism a little bit, so
Yeah.
You're not studying business and capitalism and figuring out how the world works and studying, the investment world and all of that. You really are not going to ever be free. You're just kind of, wasting your time, entertaining yourself, but you're not growing, you're not developing, you're not building, you're not utilizing your talents, your skills, your abilities, especially your God-given natural abilities. All of this is based on it should be based on developing authenticity, where you become engaged in the world that you live in every single day. So you're real. You're not walking around playing, acting like you're somebody. You can actually do something. You can build something. You can develop something. You can create something.
Right. Well, again, my audience is most of coaches. I think identifying leadership is very important, especially if you want to become a head coach. I see, one of your books was about sports marketing, which I thought was great. Can you just give us a general of what were your thinking when you put that together?
Wow, that's so great that you asked me about that, Johnny. The first book I wrote was The Ultimate Guide to Sports Event Management and Marketing. I wrote that with a couple other authors and who were in sports managing business. And I taught sports marketing at School of Business at Northwestern for 5 years. And I really, really enjoyed it. I used that book as a foundation for building the course. And it was a very successful course. Again, I taught it for 5 years there. So I really enjoyed talking about that and speaking about that and working in that field. And I had a sports marketing company. I used to represent Willie T. Ribbs, a race car driver, Walter Payton. Some people might remember him, Chicago Bears, and some other athletes, So I was in that business for a while. I did golf tournaments, and so it was a great opportunity for me to be able to learn business. I started an organization called Athletes Against Drugs. Did that for 27 years. Worked with a number of athletes, helping them to, basically get back to the community and work with young people and all of that in the schools and. So all of that, and that was non-for-profit. That was basically, I never got paid for anything for that. I just did that with for 27 years. We did that, and again, we had a lot of success in the community based on that. So interesting. All of that prepared me for what I'm doing today. All successful when preparation meets opportunity. It's all about the preparation.
Yeah, it's important that the people who support me that first know who you are and what you stand for, and me doing all my research and seeing how you always have had your hand not up looking for something, but down where you see in the back part of always giving and giving the teams. And I can't say give you enough gratitude and you're a hero in my book.
And I don't even want any of that, but I would just say this, that if you're not working with young people, if you're not helping young people succeed, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So the future, you got to be able to build the future. And so our goal should be to be able to give back to people who need help and who are younger than us, so that they can carry on, they can carry the torch. And it's probably why we're having a lot of issues today, because we're really not, everybody is focusing on themselves, and we're not giving back to our communities.
Yeah, it hit me earlier when you were talking about your community, how, I don't know if you guys had the boys club and stuff like that. I mean, my parents raised 9 boys, but they just didn't raise them by itself. It's like you said, it's about the community, and we don't have that. And how do you think that's hurting Black America today?
What was the last one, Johnny?
I was like, how you think not having that support that you grew up with, that I grew up with, we don't have that support anymore. As far as, the boys club and these programs around these Black communities, we don't have that no more. And I was like, what do you see with that for our Black teens today?
A lot of it's going by the wayside. I mean, we really need to work on building our community. I think we need to start with ourselves. I mean, that's why I love identity leadership, because identity leadership is self-leadership. It's based on the philosophy that you can't lead anybody else until you first lead yourself. So I think we forgot about ourselves. I think we, as you become more prepared and I become more prepared, and we have other people who become more prepared, as they become smarter and stronger, you can't pour from an empty cup. So, things are changing, and we, of course, have to change. We have to add more value in our traditional educational system. Sometimes it just teaches you how to memorize and take tests, repeat the information back, get labeled as a grade. 2 weeks later, you forget the information. So we got to go back to being learners. We got to go back to taking charge of our own development. We got to be thinkers. We got to be able to utilize this information. Again, I don't think you could have a better opportunity than today, because you can reach people through this technology anywhere in the world. I mean, the show that you're not doing that just for a small group of people. You can reach people all over the world with your show. And so when we have the opportunity to do that, then we got to raise our consciousness, which is, I think, what's missing, is we need to raise our consciousness. We need to look at what we can do, not what we can't do. And I think the number one issue is we need to move from a negative mindset to a positive mindset and start looking at the opportunities instead of going back to our historical framework and then blaming everybody else for what we can't do when we have all the opportunities in front of us. And so we just have to raise our consciousness and help humanity. This is not just Black or white. This is people all over the world, because we have the opportunity to make a difference in people all over the world. So we should just have strong communities just across the board, regardless of what city you're in or community you're in.
Right. And, reading again, one of your...
America. I mean, if you're in America, the greatest country in the world, you can create whatever you want to create. It doesn't make any sense to have, folks on the street and homeless and all of that. When we have the opportunity to be able to do whatever we want to do and create whatever we want to create and design whatever we want to design. So I think that's why this thing, identity leadership, the second part of this is leadership. I think, leadership is everything. You got to find a leader who can make it happen.
Yeah. One of the things that one of the people who support you, Gallup, estimated that in American business loses $350 to $400 billion a year because 70% of the workforce is disengaged and not working at a full potential because of lack of identifying who they are and the identity of leadership. Man, that's something. That's a whole bunch of money is being lost because we got people that's not engaged with what they're doing and trying to get better.
Education. I mean, what we're saying is that really it's possible to do it. And what we have to do is we can't wait for somebody else to do it for us. You got to do your part. I have to do my part. Everybody else has to do their part. Okay. Find a way first build social economic development in your own life. Be smart. Read as much as you possibly can. Read everything you can get your hands on. Take that information and apply it to your purpose and to your passion and to what you love. Focus on love. Focus on, developing a strong emotional base. Try to get rid of the anger. Try to unpeel the onion. Get down to really who you are. Again, focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. Look at the glass half full as opposed to half empty, and go to work. And utilize all of the resources and all of the opportunities that the world has to offer, and make that relevant to you every single day so you become happy. And then once you become happy, you can help other people become happy.
Yeah. One of the things, Stedman, I want to say something about my profession in the coaching profession and just see your thoughts on it. 90% or more than 90+% of all the athletic directors in college athletics are white people of none. And when, of course, you hear about, why we're not becoming head coaches, but that's a hard hill to climb when the people who's making these hires don't look like you. I'm not saying it's racist, but it's so unfair that we are most of the constituents, we're most of the players, but it doesn't even match or correlate with how many people of color that's in charge. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's a process for all of it. And I think that, we have to study what the process is. And I think that, it's structural. Sometimes it's political. It's economic. All of this there's an economic reason for a lot of it. So, if you look at the economics, and I think the most important thing is to prepare yourself when the opportunities come around. So when the opportunities come around, you be prepared. You be the best person you can possibly be. You do the best job you can possibly do where you are, okay? And then you be ready. You be the best coach you could possibly be. You study coaching, you live coaching, you breathe coaching. So when that opportunity comes, you can try to make that happen. So I think that, you have to look at, all of it and then use our brain and try to figure out, strategically, what's it going to take for you to be able to get to where you want to go. And that's in everything that you do, no matter where you are or who you are. Most of the time, if you're good at what you do, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times an opportunity will come up. And sometimes you got to start at the bottom before you get to the top, So you got to look at the process.
Yeah. Now, since you're a basketball lover, did you ever think about getting into coaching? When I hear you talk, I love, the things that you say and what you stand for. Man, you probably could have been a hell of a coach.
Yeah, I think I could. I did a little bit of coaching in high school, just a little bit, with a YMCA team or something small, comparable, and to the high school level. But I do that. I do that with my work anyway. I work with all kinds of people from all backgrounds. So I'm basically, helping people try to get to the next level. It was something I could probably love to do. And I love people. I love being around people. I love helping people. But I really love what I do now because I get a chance to teach people the process of success. And when you don't know the process and you just kind of walking around like 8 billion people kind of stuff, just following everybody else, and you don't think for yourself or develop for yourself, or you don't design your own future, and you're pretty much lost. And so, man, if you could we could just get people to utilize their talents. We have so many people in this country, especially young people who are smart, who have the brain power, who have the capacity. We could just get them to, self-actualize their potential, to work on themselves every single day as opposed to giving everything away and building their own leadership potential. Man, that would be incredible.
Yeah. Well, I'm still trying to figure out all the steps on that to try to help come up with some solutions to make some changes. When you look at Bill Russell, the first black coach in the NBA back in the 50s, and now we what, 75 years later, 70 years later, we still battling trying to get those spots. It's a little dampering sometimes, but like you said, you got to identify and make yourself great. I could say that, and be able to cross all the T's and dot all the I's when those opportunities come. But one thing, Stedman,
I think the key is that I want you to, we used to prepare ourselves a long time ago. That's all we did was prepare. That's all we did was work hard. That's all we did was study. That's all we did was read. That's all we did. We did all of that. And we were encouraged to do that. So when the opportunity comes, are you ready? The worst thing in the world is to have an opportunity and you're not prepared. Regardless of the situation. So all
Stedman, you died down.
You have the basic skills. Are you a learner? Are you a developer? Are you a builder? And then you create the opportunity. Start to own some stuff. Start to build some stuff. Start to organize some stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the basics of foundation, because it seems like that's the only way we're going to start to make a big difference. As far as in my career, I mean, in my what I do as far as in coaching and stuff, to start owning and start building, and the biggest thing, and too, Stedman, is we got to start loving each other and start trusting each other and start believing that our ice is just as cold as their ice.
Well, I think what we have to do is go back and start preparing our young people. And for success for the future, because they're not. It's not going to be as tough for them as it was for us, but it's going to be very difficult for them if they can't read. Very, very difficult for them if they can't, understand the importance of education. Very difficult for them if they don't know who they are, and they're all over the place. So if I think it's important to be able to again go back and figure out how to prepare our young people for success, because they'll have access to the whole world, but this iPhone doesn't mean anything if you can't read. Doesn't mean anything if you are not a learner. Doesn't mean anything again if you don't know what you're good at, what your natural abilities are, what your talents are. You just really become somewhat of a follower as opposed to a producer. And you don't have a direction, and you got all these opportunities all around the world to create whatever you want to create. That's the opportunity. So I think we have to get that message out.
Yeah. I mean, man, Coach, you a guy. You got over 80 constituents, and I'm gonna have to get on some of these HBCUs. I don't know how it works for you, but I see you dealing with only three HBCU schools. I don't know if your time don't allow you to deal with more, but some of these HBCU schools, I'll be calling my president at my school to say that we need to call Stedman and let him come in and teach and teach our teachers and students about identity leadership. Is that just something that you work with those three, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working with corporate America. I'm working with, Chamber of Commerce. I'm working with business organizations. I'm working with universities. I've been doing it a long time. I'm in the schools. I have a 10-week course. I'm training parents, teachers, and students. I've been doing that for 15 years, in the schools. And so I've been doing this work a long, long time. And I'm not way out there, I'm grassroots. You know, I'm community-based. So
Yes.
I'm trying to get people one person at a time to get to understand who you are. If you know who you are, you know where you're going, you know how you're going to get there, man. So you don't have to worry about a whole bunch of external stuff. You know, you don't have to worry about, what color you are. You don't have to worry about your background. You don't have to worry about all the external stuff. That's external stuff. We're talking about internal development. Where you can't change your circumstances until you first change yourself. Einstein said you cannot solve a problem with the same mindset that caused it. So when you start to change your thinking and you change your mindset, everything else changes around you because you have a different perspective on who you are and what's possible for you. It's not about where you are, it's about where you're going. Do you know where you're going? And now you have the whole global marketplace to be able to pull from. And you have this most powerful tool in your hand every single day that we're talking on right now as a way to be able to help you connect to anything that you want in the world and anybody. So you need to be educated to do that. You need to be able to be a thinker to do that. You need to be smart to do that. You need to have a clear head to do that. You need all the faculties and tools that are possible from a natural standpoint, right?
Right.
You can't be high and do that. You can't be on drugs and do that. You can't be on alcohol and do that, right? You can't hate yourself and do all that, right? So you need clarity. And you need to take all that natural ability and make it work so that you can actually utilize the world so you can create social economic development to take care of yourself and then your family.
Right. Yeah, I see you even work with one of my neighboring, I'm in the district of Fort Worth ISD. I see you work with Dallas ISD and of course, A-League down in Houston. That's big. I'm gonna have to see about my people, see if we can't get you to come on over to Fort Worth when you're in Dallas. Do you still work with them as well?
Yeah, and then it's beautiful because Fort Worth. I mean, I went to Hardin Simmons University in Abilene. I mean, I spent so much time in Dallas and Fort Worth area and Texas. I love Texas and all of that. But man, if the people understood what's possible for them, if the young people can get it at 10, man, they got 80 years to create a process of continuous improvement. They can become better today than they were yesterday, based on understanding who they are and having a sense of self and having a sense of understanding the possibilities and the vision that they can create for themselves and their family. So you can break the cycle and stop going back to some, this old slave mindset. And this mindset that's just, you're stuck and think you're not worth anything. And think you can't do anything. And you're sitting up here in the greatest country in America and you got all these resources and all of us have all these resources. And we're sitting around blaming somebody else for our lack of ability to create social economic development, and it's all right here. Right.
Well, I hope you ain't upset at me. I was kind of your agent. I kind of called the president of our board of Fort Worth, and she said, "Oh yeah, we would love to have him." I said, "Well, I don't know. We'll see. I know he's next door in DSD. We can't let them be better than us." Because of the information that you bring is priceless. So what's next for Stedman Graham? What's next for Mr. Graham? I know you all over the place.
I'm really working with my clients, and I'm in the schools. That's a big thing for me. I'm working in Chicago in the schools there, and I'm working with universities and organizations, and I'm building this. I'm developing courses around my books, and Teens Can Make It Happen. We're coming out with a really strong program online. You got to put this stuff into the technological framework, today, and you got to know how to do it, and you got to build it. So this is a lot of work, but I'm real hopeful because we have content. I think we have the right content. I know we have the right content because I've been using it to define my own self. Oftentimes I get defined by my relationship with Oprah and all of that, and I get defined by, I was defined by my brothers and family. I'm defined by race, all of that. And so what I learned through all of that is not how the world defines you, it's how you define yourself. The question is that do you have the tools to be able to do that? Do you understand how to do that? And you got to work on that every single day. If you're looking for freedom, you'll never find freedom on the outside. Freedom is only on the inside, okay? The outside will take care of itself, but you first have to free your own self. And you, like I said before, you could not have a better opportunity than today to do it, because you've got this supercomputer in your hand that has all the information. It will even talk to you. It will feed you information. If you understand how to take that information and apply it to what you love in your life every single day, and you design and create your own future, the 24 hours that you have, which is what makes us all equal. Everybody has 24 hours. And you focus on organizing from the time you get up in the morning to you go to bed at night. You're organizing all the resources that are relevant to your empowerment. Nobody can stop you.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll have one more spot in your repertoire to help one more district. If not, at least I tried. But I just want to get your final remarks. We at the end, man. I've been loving all this. When you're having fun, it's always feel like it's a short time. What are some of your final remarks, you want to leave with my audience?
Well, I would just say, you're not your circumstances, you are your possibilities. It is just out. It's out here for us, okay? The schools are here. The libraries are here. The books are available. You can get them online. They got sample books you can read. It's all about learning and learning how to learn. And the way you learn how to learn is you got to organize information around you. You got to work on you. You got to be selfish with you first, okay? You got to be able, again, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't, you got to put your mask on first. You can't give what you don't have. So you got to be educated. You got to be skilled. You got to be, you got to understand technology and how to use it. You got to be able to work hard. You got to find out, your expertise, what you're good at, and then you can build value. The value that you give yourself is the value the world gives you. The world sees you as you see yourself. How do you see yourself? And so you want to raise your standards, create the opportunity, design your own future, build it every single day so you can be proud of yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd like to thank you for coming on and giving us some strong information. And I know myself, I've became a better person, I think, just from us talking there at the golf tournament to now with some of that information. Leadership is all about leadership, but it's all about knowing who you are. The things that I've gotten from that, knowing your weaknesses is your strong points. One of my things, Stephanie, that I always used to say when I became a head coach, I don't want to be the smartest in the room, but I at least want to make sure I have all the information that I need in the room. And I think that's been part of my success.
Be the smartest in the room if you want to be. If you want to be. Does it take work? Yes, it takes work. But you have the same opportunity as anybody else. Nobody's any better than you.
Yeah.
And that's what you understand. The process of success, this is what I learned, is the same for everybody. The difference is some people know it, some people don't.
Yeah. Well, again, I want to thank you for your time and efforts, and we'll continue down the line and talk. You're a mentor of mine through your books and things that I'll keep on studying. I want my support people to understand that one of the things you told me, you got to pick up books and you got to read. You got to fill your mind, and I think that's already have started helping me out in my endeavors.
If you don't know nothing, you're not going to do nothing.
Hey, that's true. That's true. Okay, I appreciate you. Let you get back to your life.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Stedman Graham. Yes, Stedman Graham. Everybody knows him as the husband of Oprah Winfrey. But that's the person, not some tag along. He was already Stedman Graham before he met her, and we had some great conversations that led to a friendship, and a mentorship as well. He's a strong Black man that knows the things that he wants to do in life, and he's doing it. He's touching people, all over the United States as well as all over the world. Like I said earlier, he had over 80 clients that he worked with, and not just in the school system. He's been on CNN. He worked with Hyatt, McDonald's, Kraft. He's worked with Microsoft as well, coming in and speaking with them. He's worked on the educational side of a lot of universities. Howard University. He's worked with the University of Phoenix. He's worked with the Kellogg Group and the educational system. He's working with Alabama A&M as well as Temple and Oklahoma State. So he has a mass of a system and a systematic way of identifying leadership. Think of that word of identifying leadership. Look his book up. I think you'll like it. I love it. So now, once again, tribute to Bill Russell. We talked earlier today about that picture of him, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, Lou Alcindor, four of the greatest athletes that were at that time and stood up about Black awareness. I know I've kind of got away from the coaching side, but also just wanted to spread the rise. And it's just like when I coach my football team, I want to build my players up academically, socially, religiously, as well as academically. So I want to build the total player. And I think talking with Stedman and start talking about identifying leadership was a great tool for me. And I think it would be a great tool for you as well. So next week, big week, we'll get back to football because it's just now starting. I'll reach out to some of our coaches who have also reached out to me, and they're ready to go on the show. We're looking for a great football season. I almost say I'll be back on the lunch break on August the 4th, which is a Thursday, which is yours truly, my birthday. I'm here in Phoenix, enjoying it, getting my mind ready to go back. Got to be back at work on August the 8th, start back at the Fort Worth ISD School District. But I'll be on the lunch break on Thursday with my man, AJ Jones, and we're going to be talking sports. We're going to be talking what's going on today with Deshaun Watson. But that's my guy. I enjoy being on with him. And as I say, thanks again for your continued support. If you feel yourself at the end of the rope, tie a knot, hold on tight, because ain't nobody bad like you. Thank you.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Monday, August 1st, 2022. Already. Number 1, basketball great Bill Russell has died, a trailblazer on and off the court. Mr. Russell not only won 11 championships for the Boston Celtics, he also made history as the first Black coach in any major U.S. sport. Basketball's first Black superstar used his sky-high presence in the fight for civil rights. He marched with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., supported Muhammad Ali's fight against the military draft, and was awarded the Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama in 2011. And the NBA Finals Most Valuable Player Award named after Dr. Bill Russell. Number 2, actress Nichelle Nichols, best known for her role as communications specialist Lieutenant Uhura in the original Star Trek television series, died this weekend. The star of the 1960 show broke down barriers for Black women on primetime television and in science. Madam Nichols often talked about the lightning bolt conversation with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that changed her life. When she announced she was not returning for Star Trek's second season, Dr. King told her, "You've changed the face of television forever, and therefore you've changed the minds of people." One of those she influenced, Dr. Mae Jemison, was the first Black woman to travel into space. Nichelle Nichols was 89 years old. Number 3, President Joe Biden tested positive for COVID-19 again Saturday, slightly more than 3 days after he was cleared to exit coronavirus isolation. White House physician Dr. Kevin O'Connor said in a letter, the president has experienced no reemergence of symptoms and continues to feel quite well. In accordance with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines, President Biden will re-enter isolation for at least another 5 days. Number 4, the entire police department in Kenly, North Carolina, including longtime police chief Josh Gibson, 5 officers, and 2 town clerks, resigned 2 months after Justine Jones, a Black woman, began her new role as that city manager. All 8 resignation letters cited similar reasons, including a hostile work environment. Since the entire Kenly Police Department is white, local resident Brittany Hinnon said she feels they don't want a Black woman basically managing them or telling them what to do. Number 5, Democrats in Washington had big and high ambitions this year to boost child care subsidies nationally as a part of the broad domestic spending bill. Those plans stalled because of a lack of bipartisan support. However, some states moved ahead with plans of their own. One of those states included New Mexico, and New York lawmakers passed a state budget in the spring that calls for it to spend $7 billion to make child care more affordable over the next 4 years. The legislation will double previous state support for government subsidies that help families shoulder part or all of their child care costs. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. When you show grace, you see mistakes as lessons, not something to be judged. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with the wonderful comedians Huggy Lowdown, Chris Paul, and social justice activist Coy Malone as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the American Heart Association. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SibylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.
This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to show that attainability. I want to show the accessibility of this kind of lifestyle.
From social media to having conversations with friends and family, you always have to put on face and say face.
What brings a smile to my face is the one person that totally believes in me, and that's my beautiful wife, Jody.
I just had to stop because I didn't value myself. I didn't love myself. And it's like, I have to learn to love myself.
Changing the world one conversation at a time. This is Revelations.